Hi, this is Gary. In this video I'm going to wrap up the pens that I've been using during October 2020. I started the month with 9 pens and we're going to run down through them now. Let's see which one comes out as my personal preference. So here we are down on the mat. As you can see, I've already put the list of pens that I've been using this month. I've also got on there the inks that were used in each pen. If you'd like to know any more about any of these, please feel free to watch my video from earlier this month where I announced the pens. So I'm going to rank these from 1 to 9, 1 being my favourite pen and 9 being my least favourite pen. To keep everyone in suspense, I'm going to start from 9 and work my way all the way through back to 1. The marks I'm going to be putting in, I'm going to be using this pen here. So this, it's a TWSBI Eco. It's got a 1.1 stub nib and the ink that I'm using in it is Robert Oster Grun Gilt. So without any further delay, let's jump in. The first pen is the Hondian 525. So this comes in at position number 9. Now, I am doing a bit of a disservice by saying I don't like it because I do. It's just I have to rank them. This pen, it's got what they call a small bent nib. I don't know if it's visible on the camera, but I've really struggled to actually get anything out of this. I've got very, very little line variation. And it could just be because it is a small one. The ink in it is Dieman Apple Island Green. I think it's a beautiful green ink, as you can see from my sample here. My issue with it is, although yes, it's a nice looking pen, I had a lot of issues when I was writing with it. I would be writing away and it would just stop writing. And then after a few seconds and a few shakes, it would start back again. And that's not what I need in a pen. If it was only happening once every so often, it wouldn't be too bad, but this was every 3 or 4 sentences. I think the nib, it just needs tuning up a bit, but obviously I haven't had the time to do that. So this one unfortunately comes in at number 9 on my list. So number 9 goes to the Hondian 525 and Diemen's Apple Island Green. Pen number 8 is, again, it's a Hondian pen. It's this one. It's the Black Forest series, the Light of Hope. I love the name of this pen. I love that it's called the Light of Hope. I love the looks of this pen. Look at that beautiful blue nib. I don't know if you can see it shining in the light, but it's just a gorgeous blue nib feeding into a blue body. It looks really nice. It writes not too bad. Again, I had the same problem where it was skipping a lot. The other issue I have with this pen is it's just too thin. When I'm writing with it, it's alright when I'm writing a couple of sentences. But if I was using it as a daily driver to take notes, I was finding that my hand would start to wake after just a few minutes. So unfortunately, it's not something that I could use for a long writing session. Looks beautiful, writes not too bad. It's not nice to work with when you're doing it for any length of time. So for that reason, this comes in at position number 8. So next, what do we have? So at position number 7 is a TWSBI 580. This one has got an extra fine nib. And the ink in this is Robert Oster Tranquility. I like this pen. I like the TWSBI. I like the ink. I like the colour of it. My problem really is the nib is too fine for this ink. You know, it's beautiful looking ink. I think there should be more shading coming out of it, and unfortunately that extra fine nib is just not letting it come forward. As a result, this ends up in position number 7 for my month. Coming in at number 6 is the Jinho 100 Centennial in Meteorite. Now the ink in this was Robert Oster Cosmic Swirl. Really nice colour. It's an unusual colour for me to choose. I actually love the colouring and the pattern on the pen as well. It's a screw cap, so we screw to take the cap off. We've got a really nice looking nib. One of the issues I've had is this section and the barrel comes undone when I'm taking the cap off. The other issue I've had with this is on here, which is Oxford paper, it writes really nice. On virtually every paper I've tried it on, it writes quite nicely, apart from Clairefontaine. Clairefontaine paper, it is constantly skipping, and it's just so frustrating because on everything else it looks really, really nice. What I've had to do is take the nib, and I've just used a little bit of emery board and done a few figure eights on it, which has roughened up that nib a little bit. And then it does write quite nicely on the Clairefontaine paper. But the downside of that is it's also a noisier writer now. And yes, I know I need to do a little bit more work on it to try and smooth it back down again. But just because it was struggling on that Clairefontaine paper, I've had to mark it down. So as a result, this one, it comes down and it's number 6. At position number 5 is a handmade pen that I got from Fremantle Markets. Got this beautiful gold colours and this grey, and there's a lot of sparkles, and you can just see it sparkling there in the light. The nib on this, it's a little bit smaller than some of the others. It's still a nice nib. It does say that it's an Iridium Point Germany, so it's likely a Chinese nib. What I find with this though is it's small in my hand. It's awkward to hold because it doesn't have the length. Now it posts really well, so it posts by screwing on the top, but then what I find is the cap is making it too heavy and too long, and it's then awkward to write with. So as a result, I've had to downgrade this. So this one, it comes in at position number 5. Number 4 on my list. Well, this one, it's another Jinhao 100 Centennial. This one, it's in blue. The ink in it is Robert Oster Great Southern Ocean. Really liked this combination. Really liked the pen. Really liked the ink. It writes very smoothly. I had no problems on any of the papers that I was using it on. Worked really well on the Clairefontaine, which is where I'm thinking the issue with the other Jinhao 100 was to do with the ink rather than the paper. Other than that, looks exactly the same as the other one, except in this blue colour. So I have the same issue where the section would come loose as I was unscrewing the cap. So this one comes in at position number 4. There's only 3 spots left, so which do you think will come in at number 3? Well, it's the PenBBS 467 in the Corderite. Now, as you can see, I do have a fair bit of ink left in this. This pen is a magnetic filler. It's a really unusual filling system, and it's one I've struggled with. What I ended up doing is actually unscrewing the body and eyedropper in it because I just could not get the magnetic filler to work. Writing, it's beautiful, really nice, lovely nib. Writes really nicely. As I say, the only downside I've ever come up with was that magnetic filling. And I know it's an unusual method of filling, so you get what you pay for. And other than that, I really like this pen, and I'm actually going to keep using this next month. More so because, well, look how much ink's left. So number 3 is that PenBBS 467 with Colorverse Supernova. Again, I want to just draw you to this. Look at that beautiful ink. A lot of shading in there. It's a really nice blue ink. Top 2. Well, you can mostly guess because there's only 2 spots left. It's got to be a Moonman M800. But which one? Well, it's this. It's the Moonman M800 with the Moonman nib. So this is in the green colour. It's beautiful, gorgeous colours. I mean, as I'm spinning the light, just look at how the colours are changing in there. You know, if I open it up, we've got that Moonman nib. Again, the nib, it looks so nice. It really is a nice pen. The reason why this is at number 2, not number 1, is I've had issues with the feed. So what would happen, I'd be writing away and all of a sudden it would stop writing. And one of the things I've noticed is in the bottom part here of the channel going down, that would be empty of ink, and it would be empty from about halfway down. What I then have to do is give it a good shake, a couple of times, really hard, so really give it a good shake, and then the ink comes back down and it starts writing again. Now, whether this was an issue with the ink or the pen, I'm not 100% certain. So I did have Pilot Iroshizuku Shin-Ryoku in there, and I believe that these Pilot inks, they're well lubricated anyway, so I'm not 100% certain it is the ink. What I've done is, although this won't be in my next month's everyday carries, I have put a different ink in it to try a different ink and to see if I get the same problem, because that's the only thing which kept it from being number one, was when it was stopping writing. So at number 2 is that Moonman M800 with the Moonman nib. So that means our number 1 pen for this month, it's the Moonman M800 in amber, and this has got a Bock nib. Again, like that green one, beautiful colours. Just look at that, look at the yellows in there. There's a bit of gold, there's black, there's grey, there's browns. And as I come round, it's changing all the time. I think this one is a bit more transparent than that green one as well, so I can see the cartridge in there. Screwing off the cap. Again, we've got a beautiful nib. So this one, it's that Bock nib. And the ink I was using was Colorverse Martian. It was just a beautiful pen to write with. So much so that by the 16th of October, I'd used all the ink. So at number 1, we've got the Colorverse Martian. You will see this pen again next month because it's making it into my pens for November. But I'm going to be using a different ink to see if I get the same thing. One of the things I have found by using this pen is obviously the colour, it tends to more of them brownish type inks. I never thought I'd be a brown ink type person, but I've got to be honest, this has converted me. I really love the colour of brown, and it's really weird because it's something I would have thought no one would ever be able to get me to use a brown ink. So yeah, definitely this is my number 1. Beautiful pen, lovely ink, writes really well, had 0 problems all month. As I say, the only problem I ran out of ink, and I didn't want to refill it because I was tending to use this pen virtually all the time and not touching any of the others. So from about the 16th, which was when it ran out of ink, I've been forcing myself to use the other pens. Highly recommend this pen. Highly recommend that Bock nib. Love the colour. I hope you've enjoyed this wrap-up video. Do you have any similar pens and inks that you like? If you do, please drop a comment below. Are there any pens and inks that you'd like to see me testing? Again, drop a comment below, let me know so I can add them to my lineup. If you've enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up, give it a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. Join me again in a few days when I'll be going through the pens that I'm going to be using in November 2020. Until then, goodbye.